Celtics play actual basketball on Friday. The things that we want to see in these two preseason games. Plus, Jaylen Brown does hot ones. We'll talk about it now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Thanks to Blockbuster Brand, it's holiday season. Drop Drew in the mix, and 3 from KP. No, we not on the Knicks. Flushing competition like Al on Giannis. Juice and Big Juice, still Beantown's finest. Banner 18 going up in the rafters. Watch the C's game in Locked On after. Corrales on the breakdown, clutch like a tip from D. White on the breakdown. John on the mic, documenting domination. Matter pen a back bay, it's all C's nation. Rain and J's, how we started, raising business, how we finish. Locked On Celtics pod, home of the winners. Peace.
Hey there. Welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast. It's right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. I'm here for you every Monday through Friday. Thank you so much for making this your first listen. If you're an everydayer, joining me doing whatever you do. If you're new to the show, welcome aboard. Love to have you here. I'd love to have you here more often so you can subscribe. You can watch the show on YouTube, get into the comment section. Join me on this Celtics journey. I'm John Corrales. I have been covering this team for about 20 years or so. I'm doing it right now as a beat writer for Boston Sports Journal. I've written a couple of Celtics books, including Built Different, The Celebration of Banner 18. You can get those at johncorrales.com. Shipping in the United States for $30, signed, personalized, all that stuff. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel, where you can start the season with a big return. Place your first $5 bet. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Later on, third segment, Jaylen Brown does the Hot One show. I love the Hot One show. I think it's great. Jaylen got through the gauntlet, did not take a sip of water or milk, so that was nice. But I still have a criticism of how he did. We'll talk about that later on. But let's get Tom Westerholm in here. Old Tommy West. Old T-Dubs.
D-Dubs. We're gonna let's just keep coming up with them. Eventually my name will be like when you say a word over and over and it doesn't mean anything. It'll be good.
I've said that about nothing. Never mind. Yeah, I mean, everybody calls you T-Dubs. We know that people.
We know this.
Well documented that T-Dubs is your actual nickname.
With a
you
Z.
love being called it. T-DUBZ. That's been like, I think it might have been your rap name earlier in life. I don't want to say that that's exactly how you got your nickname, but it probably is, and people should go on to Reddit and spread that rumor. So,
yeah.
Fact. I didn't say rumor. I mean fact.
Just spread that fact. Yeah. Make sure you spread my sick rhymes too. That's
right. Yeah. Dropping bars here on the regular basis on Lockdown. So drop some knowledge here where it's thank the sweet baby Jesus. We got to talk about basketball. They play basketball on Friday at noon Eastern, whatever, add addition and subtraction in whatever time zone you're in. So what's the first thing when you think about like, oh, they're back? Is there any one particular thing that you T-Dubs are looking for?
Than me. I mean, look, during the preseason, I always like to nerd out a little bit, watch some of the young guys, some of the guys who aren't going to play as much during the regular season. I don't want to start off our entire show by talking about Baylor Scheierman. Like we can get to that maybe a little bit later.
It's a very T-Dubs thing to do. It's right up your alley.
But look, preseason though, right? Like, come on. So I guess what I'll start with is I'm curious, like from the main guys. Jaylen looks like a running back now. What is that going to look like? Like I'm like fascinated to see how all this muscle he's packed on. Like, just how athletic does he look? More athletic than before because it was pretty athletic before. So I'm excited to see Jaylen. I'm excited to kind of see what his summer work. Just get a little preview, little game one of the preseason preview of what Jaylen's offseason work did.
Yeah, I mean, what's he going to do? Play bully ball in the post? Is he going to go down there and throw some bows and maybe that's where he's going to go with it. I like the fact that he very clearly has added, this isn't some muscle watch thing, but it's very obvious that he has added some amount of muscle, and that he says that he liked the way it made him feel. It got him through a long season, so he kind of rolled with it. And went back to it. So good.
Yeah, and to be clear, this is the opposite of a muscle watch, because this is not Jaylen during the media day saying, "Oh, I put on 30 pounds of muscle." It's not that. It's us looking at Jaylen and being like, "Did you put on 30 pounds of muscle?"
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of the opposite.
Yeah. No, it's definitely there. I'm curious to see how that impacts him. There's always, it's almost like he needs to come out shooting well, because if he doesn't, people are gonna be like, "Oh, there he goes." People have already said that about Jayson Tatum.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, side note, Jayson Tatum shot pretty well during the course of the regular season. The muscle didn't just start impacting him at the end of the season in the playoffs. This notion that, like, people, for some reason, people latched onto that and like, "Oh, the muscle." Like, dude has been this big for a while. And it's not the muscle with Jayson. It's something else. We've gone through that. Jaylen, he has the muscle. And now it's like, if he shows any kind of difference in his jumper, people are going to start saying, like, "Oh, JB with the muscle, messing with his shot." We'll watch for that. But yeah, I am curious to see kind of if he's changing his style a little bit. Is this part of something? What's he experimenting with? It's like the number one thing you're always watching with everybody. What are they tinkering with something? Are they trying something new? Do they want to come in? Does he want to focus on going left? Which he did all last season, by the way. People are still going to drop the Jaylen doesn't go left. He can't go left. Be like, he scored like half his points with his left hand last year.
Yeah.
But
same as it's the same principle as the Joe Mazzulla timeout thing. It's like, if people who don't watch as much as some other people want to latch on to something, it's like, coming up with another talking point is hard, so I'm going to stick with the left hand thing.
That's right. I don't watch enough. I do know this talking point. Therefore, when I see it, I will hammer it.
Yeah.
That is what it is. So yeah. So Jaylen,
Locked On Celtics to get all your new talking points.
We'll have new talking points for you. Don't worry about it. We don't have
bullet points on this side of the screen.
They're right there. We'll make them. We'll put them in the description. Show notes exist. We got you. You don't have to go to the old ones. We got new ones.
That's right.
So with that, my thing is Jayson Tatum's jumper. The same old. No, but I am curious to see. We saw a little bit of it in practice. We saw, like, oh, this looks a little smoother. It looks like he's it's quicker, maybe a quicker release. Let's see it in action. Let's see if it takes, because shooting under duress in a game situation, with everybody watching, because it's the only game going on and people are anxious to see NBA basketball. So all the Twitterati are going to be there tweeting about the game. So I want to see if all of those factors bring Jayson back to some of the old habits. Is he going to show something new? Is it going to start falling? Again, first preseason game, I'm not going to put too much into it if both guys go 0 for 8, but it would be really nice to see some initial results in these two games and be like, oh, okay, maybe they start 0 for 8 and then go, 6 for 7 in the next game or whatever, and it balances out. I just want to see, I would like to see some immediate results.
Definitely. Yeah. And I mean, again, it's preseason. So if we don't see them, it's truly not the end of the world. But I think the Tatum jumper one is a big one, because it's like, you look at the way he played during the postseason. I mean, if you add a consistent jumper to that, that's where you start talking. I mean, that's a level up kind of thing, like the guy who can play that level of defense, who can draw that level of attention and pass the way he did, and get to the rim the way he did, and get to the free throw line the way he did. If the jumper is up, if the 3-pointer is up in the, high 30s or what have you, that's you start talking about some kind of lofty stuff with him.
Yep. Then the MVP conversation starts to happen. And I think that's what it's going to take. It's going to take, like, I don't think Jayson needs to play differently. I just
No.
think he needs to do the things that he has been doing just a little bit better. Just be a little bit more efficient with the stuff that you're doing, and the wins will follow, and the accolades will as well. All right, you mentioned Baylor Scheierman. We'll talk a little bit about those young guys. We'll get to what you really wanted to talk about. So anxious that you jumped at it right away. We're actually going to get to it when we come back. Patience, T-dubs, patience. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. It's the place to go for those last-minute ticket purchases. Sports, you want to go to a Celtics game? Maybe you decided, oh, I do want to go to this preseason game. Open up that Game Time app. Maybe you want to go to, hey, Sebastian Maniscalco is at TD Garden on Friday night. You didn't know that? Game Time. Check it out. They'll have those tickets there as well. Whatever you want. Theater, music. Open up the Game Time app. Check out the Game Time Picks feature. Makes getting tickets super easy because they filter out the fluff. You don't have to waste your time scrolling through. They give you the best tickets, the best deals on great seats. If you toggle on all-in pricing, you'll see the final price, no surprise fees at checkout. You'll get the panoramic view right on the app so you can see what you will see before you buy the ticket. They've got the lowest price guarantee. Find that ticket somewhere else for less, they will credit you 110% of the difference. So you are guaranteed that lowest price. They got the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's Game Time. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Check out Locked On NBA. We got the whole league covered all year long, 5 days a week. Actually, I think we're going to 7 days a week. So that's, covering the league every damn day. Check out Locked On NBA wherever you get your podcast. Watch on YouTube. Get into the comment section there as well. Make it your second listen after this show. All right, Tom, you are so dying to see Baylor Scheierman shoot shots. It was interesting because I didn't think he had the best summer league. That can be rendered completely meaningless with a decent preseason. I don't know that he has a spot to carve out in Boston, but you want to see, I think, some level of, hey, he can hit his shots and, be productive with the big boys.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, this goes for all the younger guys, right? It's like, these are important kind of times to show little bits and pieces. I mean, this is kind of an important season for Jordan Walsh. Like, we talked about that this summer. Like, I'm excited to see him. I guess it's an important year for JD Davison. Like, kind of feels like there's
okay,
whatever. But like all these guys, right? It's like these are moments that matter. This is a stage that matters. This is a chance to kind of show some things that can spark interest, right? It's like, you don't want to, if you're a coach or a decision maker, you don't want to put too much on this and make it like, oh, if you don't perform well in a preseason game, you're not going to make the team. But at the same time, it's like something's got to catch those guys' attention, right?
Sure.
And this is a prime opportunity for that to happen. So, yeah, with Scheierman, it's like there's a lot of stuff I want to see. I'm curious. Obviously, the shot is interesting. I'm curious to see the passing. I'm curious to see like the other stuff that goes around the shot that makes him a little bit more interesting than just your basic kind of shooty. But I do think that the other guys too. This is the opportunity to kind of nerd out on some of these like lower on the roster guys, and see what you see. Maybe Jordan Walsh should put in a lot of work. Maybe maybe he rips a couple guys on the Nuggets a bunch of times like he used to do in college, where he's just hyper aggressive and he's kind of like a 6'8" Marcus Smart, whatever it is. I like these moments in preseason for those guys a lot. I always think that's really interesting.
I feel like rips a couple of guys on the Nuggets is like a British euphemism for something. Oh,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
ripped a couple guys on the Nuggets. That was I don't know what accent that
Yeah,
was.
I don't know what that was.
I don't know what that was. It was certainly not anything on this earth. I'm gonna just get myself out of this and say, hey, Jaden Springer is a guy I'm watching
Yes,
because I think
another
he
good
is
one.
going to be very important. And I think Springer in these 2 games is going to give us the first glimpse of, can he be 3-and-D guy? Can he catch and shoot? Can they get him those looks in the corner? First of all, like, can he come out and defend? He will. He's I have no question about his ability to defend, but also within the parameters of what the Celtics are doing. And can he find himself in those corners? And when he gets those shots, can he knock them down? Like, I think one of the points of emphasis with the starters is when you see Jaden Springer open, like, always feed him the ball, because and Joe Mazzulla is not going to say that. He's going to say make the right play. And we need to get in the habit of making the right play. But in the preseason, the right play is, I want to see if Jaden Springer can be that guy. So I know the rim read might be you take it, but how about let's get him some looks and see if he can earn that spot? Because if Jaden Springer can elevate himself and be a reliable corner shooter, then that's a big deal. And in the same note, Lonnie Walker, same idea. Because I know that the plan seems to be to cut him and send him to Maine, but if one of those guys is stand out, oh my God, he is just so good right now with this team, then that guy gets a chance to be your 8th man
Yeah,
or somewhere in that mix, and can be very vital to keeping Jaylen or Jason's minutes down, or Holiday or White, like those guys. Like
yep.
those, one of those 2 guys is going to, I think, earn that spot. I think Springer has the advantage, but I'm still not ruling out Lonnie Walker.
No, for sure, and I like I like both of those guys in those roles. I mean, they're versatile guys. I mean, I think those are both. I like that as a concept for both of those guys. Yeah, Lonnie Walker's was the other guy I wanted to bring up. I think I've seen a lot of people kind of bring up the fact that when a guy like Lonnie Walker, is like taking an Exhibit 10 contract and is like probably going to end up it's like, yeah, there's probably room for the league to expand a little bit. Like there's probably
Yes.
enough
Yes.
room here. And I mean, I think that's true. I think, look, I mean, he's been a really talented dude. There's a lot in his game that I think could translate. So I like that one. Springer, obviously a guy that you kind of like almost forgot about after last year, right? Like it's
Yeah,
just like,
sure.
oh my gosh, like yeah, that's right. Jaden
Yeah.
Springer's on this freaking team. That guy's got a lot of fans around the league. That guy had a lot of fans in Philadelphia who were not super excited to see him go. So yeah, I think those are both great picks as well. And probably a little bit more consequential than the guy that
Yeah.
I brought up, right? Like, you know, I love the end of the bench stuff. I think I always think those like end of the bench stuff is fascinating. But if you're looking for players who could actually make a difference,
Yeah.
and then I think you look at your Jaden Springers and your Lonnie Walkers.
Tom Westerholm being fascinated with a rookie shooter is the most on brand thing that I can think of. Come on. You're
Yeah,
the high school guy. You're the draft guy. That's your jam. You love that. And I certainly am not as like you live and breathe that stuff.
it's
And
just
you're a shooter.
but I mean with the young guys too, it's like there's something about watching development that's just so interesting,
Sure,
and,
yeah,
and
of
it's like
course.
it is fascinating once you get to the NBA level, right? Because it's like at some point around like that kind of 18, 19, a lot of these guys just kind of do sort of level off. Part of that's like the NBA lifestyle, and it's like it just becomes harder to develop. Yet, like I think about like I've just been handing out like random shots to random guys for no reason. But like, look at a guy like Romeo Langford, where it's like that, there was so much to his game coming out of high school. In college, there was so much interesting stuff in his game. And then it's like, okay. And then it just, he just kind of wasn't good enough after that. And it's like, I don't know, that the development process and where it leads to and where it sometimes doesn't lead to is always fascinating to me. And that's part of the reason why Baylor Scheierman is interesting to me, because it isn't just, is he going to knock down shots? It's like, okay, he is a bigger dude who can handle the ball and who can pass the ball. How much does that stuff continue to develop? Because if it does, there's a really interesting NBA player there. And if it doesn't, there's still probably an NBA player there. But if it doesn't, the why there is also interesting to me. So anyway, I love developmental stuff. I think it's interesting.
Romeo Langford, the guy that gave us the first glimpse of Joe Mazzulla's madness.
Yes,
because Joe taped a ping pong paddle to his guide hand.
For sure. Well, and also with these young guys, I mean, let's call it what it is too. It's like sometimes there's just like little stories with these guys that aren't as well told as like a Jayson Tatum or a Jaylen Brown. Like, there's always interesting stuff to find out about them as well. So
I'll throw out one more thing before we move on to Jaylen Brown. Xavier Tillman, I want to see if his jumper is falling. Like Xavier Tillman's same idea as Jaden Springer. Can he catch and shoot corner threes? And can he spread the floor? Like that's, the non-shooting bigs for the Celtics are going to be in the spotlight while Porzingis is recovering. Which, by the way, good to see him on the floor. Like his recovery seems to be going well. He's out there, shooting shots and throwing the football around. Like he's not going crazy, but he's out there. That's a good sign. So Xavier Tillman, watching him as well. All right, we watched Jaylen Brown on Hot Ones. Interesting thing. I love that Hot One show. We'll talk about his appearance when we come back. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book. They're giving NFL fans a chance at a big return there on FanDuel. If you got a hunch in the middle of the game and you want to maybe capitalize on that, you just open up the FanDuel app instead of going somewhere else, because the latest stats, the play-by-play, and a whole lot more are all on the same page as you place your bets. So just open up that app and check out what's going on in the game. If you want to place a $5 bet at any time on FanDuel, you can go ahead and do that, and then you'll get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. You get started with those $200 in bonus bets. All you got to do is place your first $5 bet. That's it. And if you want to do it on the Celtics to win, the Celtics are plus 320. So that's not a big payout, but they're the favorites in the NBA. So go ahead. If you want to sign up for FanDuel and make your first $5 bet on that, go ahead. You get those 200 in bonus bets. Set your limits, set your budget. Make sure you're using the tools to gamble responsibly over at FanDuel.com, America's #1 sportsbook. All right, Jaylen Brown was on Hot Ones. The show, if you don't know what Hot Ones is, they line up a bunch of hot wings in front of the interviewee, and Sean Evans, the interviewer, also has the hot wings. They get hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter, and he answers questions. A smart podcaster would have said, "Hey, Tom, let's do it. Let's do this segment by eating super spicy hot wings." I wish I'd thought about that sooner. I just
opportunity missed for sure. Have you ever played that game, The Last Dab? It's basically like a truth or dare. It's based on that game, but it's like a truth or dare, and it comes with the Last Dab sauce.
Oh yeah, no, I've not.
It's very spicy. When I ate it and was like, wow, that's really hot, and then but I was like, oh no, I'm kind of tough. Like this isn't so bad. And then got like an insane stomach ache. Like just felt like I was dying. So this stuff is very hot. There's no question about it.
Yeah, I'm one of those people that I like spicy food.
Yeah.
So I'd probably go into a Hot Ones thinking like, I got this. I like spicy foods. I know it's gonna get tough, but I can get through it.
Yeah.
And then like by the third one, I'd be like, can I get a gallon of milk, please? So
I'm quite confident that I could finish it, but I would be in pain. Like
I would finish it. my competitive nature would not let me not finish it. But I do like spicy stuff.
Same.
I don't know. We'll see. Jaylen did it, but Jaylen took teeny tiny bites. Like you gotta get in there and eat the wing. You gotta eat the wing. Right?
For sure. I agree completely. I also think it did look like he was eating the entire dab, right? So it looked like he did eat the requisite amount of hot sauce.
Oh, sure.
So, credit to him there.
I got through it.
I just saw this the other day that apparently one of the guys that Sean Evans has wanted to get on Hot Ones is The Rock, and he keeps asking if he could have like salmon instead of like chicken. I wondered if it was like Jaylen being like, well, I can't eat like a ton of fried chicken or something like that. He looks like he doesn't eat a ton of fried chicken right now.
I'll give you a little bit of a pass on that, but you still you got to make the exception. I don't know if you're there, you've agreed.
If you're there.
If you've agreed to the concept. Yes. I'm going to eat spicy chicken wings. You got to go in and you got to take the full. I just want to see a full bite. Forget who was on. There was one. Oh God, damn it! I wish I forget because I do like the show. Man, Macaron, and it was like he was just like full bites. And I'm like that. I respect that so much. But hey, Jaylen did it. The sauce is hot, and he it was very clear it was bothering him. Did anything stand out to you? I think I love the Joe Mazzulla thing, the favorite Joe Mazzullism. There's no such thing as a foul. You die or you don't.
No, that's obviously the takeaway. And it's like I don't know, once every couple weeks, Joe Mazzulla says something that I'm just like, I want to get some paper and make a stencil and spray paint that on my wall somewhere. And like either you die or you don't. It's just like
God. I'm thinking like I should just because people who watch the show on YouTube have noticed that I like t-shirts. I like different kind of like the t-shirts say something like it's not, and I have like 100 t-shirts. I'm thinking that maybe I could get through this entire season wearing just a black t-shirt with white lettering. I don't watch pillow fights. You either die or you don't. Like I could just make a new shirt for every show and probably get through the whole season without wearing the same one twice.
I like it. Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, and look, either you die or you don't is like that's hard, dude. That is good stuff. That was easily my favorite moment. I mean, I thought there was other like, it was like moderately interesting to hear, Jaylen talking about chess, talking about his the gambit being his favorite, like his favorite move, like stuff like that was fine. I mean, honestly, it's like the fact that it was Jaylen was the reason that I watched that one. Like I've seen much more sort of kind of Hot Ones episodes, but it was worth it just for the either you die or you don't. That made the entire 20 some odd minutes worthwhile.
Yeah, and he addressed, like, he mentioned a couple of things. It really wasn't like super enlightening.
No,
but he did enjoy the fact that like he enjoyed the interview.
Yeah,
you don't hear I just on a personal level, I liked when he said, he's like, oh, I got to give you your flowers. You do your research, you ask interesting questions. Most of the media just asks the same thing over and over and over again, and it's all about controversy. And I'm like, yeah, that's the hard thing. But also, Sean Evans gets to do one of these a week.
Correct.
And we have to fill, like, I write 2 pieces after every game. And I got 5 podcasts, 6 podcasts to do. Like, we have content. This is, I want to say, don't hate the player, hate the game type of stuff. Like, it's not our fault necessarily. There is, like, I will say, do some of us on the beat, and I say us in general across the NBA, some of us need to be better with our questions. Absolutely. There's just like in the NBA, some guys can do like 3 things and some guys can do 100 things. And there are some beat writers, the best in the business, are getting the extensive interviews, are insightful and all that stuff. Some people do ask the same types of questions all the time. That's how it goes. But the content machine has just grown so big. It's a million podcasts out there. Everybody's got a freaking podcast. I have to write a bunch of things. You have to write a bunch of things. Everybody's got to write a bunch of things. And if I'm not writing enough, people like, my bosses or, over time, especially, are like, hey, we only got 3 things from you. Well, what's the 4th? What's the 5th? And you're like, I get nothing, man. And this team is boring. They're so good and they're fun, but also how many times over the course of 82 games in 5 months, 6 months, 7 months, am I going to be able to say, yeah, the Celtics are really good. Here's Jaylen Brown's very good. Jayson Tatum's very good. Oh, they did a couple of things wrong. You lost a couple of games. Oh, yeah. Why did you lose? Sometimes it happens is not like the, I can try to say that to people like, yeah, they lost. Sometimes teams lose.
Yeah.
It's my boss is not going to be happy with me saying, oh yeah, here's like just one sentence. Sometimes teams lose, period. 30, end of story, bye. That's how it goes, man. So it's interesting to hear the player's perspective. I would love to have Jaylen Brown on this podcast to talk about not even basketball, media perceptions. How do you think the media works? And who do you think the media is? Because he's like, I think NBA players in general just they lump a lot of people in together. Anyway,
no,
it was interesting to hear him talk about that.
You're 100% right about that. I also, I did Jaylen a disservice because I forgot the other thing that he said that I thought was actually genuinely very interesting was when he started talking about defense as music. I thought was really insightful and interesting because especially when you think about like, he's right? Everybody's kind of playing their own song and some people are really good at playing their own song and play it in their own way. Like I liked that he used Luka as an example. It's like Luka's kind of doing his own thing. It's kind of slow. It's kind of heavy, but then but it's super effective. And Kyrie is doing his own thing. I liked that a lot. I thought that was a nice metaphor for trying to defend some of these guys where it's like you're trying to learn somebody else's song sort of and play along almost.
Referring to it as a BPM is interesting because it's true. And especially because it's a dribble. The dribble is rhythmic. And you just, if you can pick up on a habit like a shoulder dip, some guys like to raise their shoulders before they do the crossover. So when you see this, to get your hand in there in the middle, like there's a lot of different things that, and look, Jaylen, like defenders in the NBA are so advanced. Like that would be a great thing to hear him talk about, like to a granular level. Like if I see a foot go this way and an eye go this way, I know this is going to happen. Like, geez, man, how do you process all that stuff in real time? I'm just like,
well, because a lot of it's completely automatic, right? Like a lot of it is like it's so muscle memory that like the processing is probably largely instantaneous. Also, though, it makes a lot of sense that Kyrie's thing is that it's just like, oh, he can do anything with the ball, right? Like it's like that guy can cross this way, finish either hand. Like, that makes a lot of sense.
It's very much like a pitcher in baseball, kind of same delivery, different pitch. Yeah. So when the batter's trying to anticipate something, you try to get a read. It happens in every sport. They have a similar thing. So that's very interesting. Also, just to put it out there, the fact that Jaylen Brown, of all people, is looking at defense in that way just kind of shows you how special a guy like him is that's willing to put that much work into how to defend a player, because a lot of guys who just won finals MVP aren't thinking about the BPM of the players that they're defending. Yeah. They just want to go out there and get their buckets. And look, I'm not sure. Does Luka understand the BPM of guys he's defending, or is he just going out there trying to and he's an elite special player. But I think one of the things that separates the Celtics from everybody else is they have great players who also play defense. And how many teams can look at their two best players and say, both those guys, like your entire starting five plays defense? That is rare.
Yeah.
And that's why I always pick the Celtics to win in a series.
Yeah.
Because you cannot attack a weakness on this. If they're healthy, as Jaylen said at the end,
yeah,
Celtics win a championship if we stay healthy. If they're healthy, everybody on the floor can defend. And that is a special thing. And there's always any matchup that's out there, any matchup they face, there's somebody on that floor that can't defend.
Yep.
And that's what always gives Boston the advantage.
Yep. Agreed.
All right. Hot ones there. Hot one right here. This was a hot episode. This was a good one. This
for sure. The last dab, the last T-dubs something.
The last
I'm out. Appreciate you, man.
Jeez, man. All right. Well, I guess we're ending on that. That's the best we can do. Thanks, Tom. T-dubs in the house. Whatever. I don't know. This is the Friday show. I'm done. I'm toast. We're gonna watch basketball. We're gonna write about it. We're gonna talk about it. Unless something huge happens, my plan is to address both games on Sunday. So that's the plan. But during the regular season, post-game podcasts after every game. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts. Watch the show on YouTube. Get into that comment section. Let us know what you're thinking. Appreciate you as always. And I would love it. I'd really appreciate it if you shared the podcast, told everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.